Happy 2025, folks. So, I got a few things I wanted to cover this evening. I want to welcome Dave McDonald to this call. Dave is a Note Conference alumni, and he's ready to get back into the swing of things. So, Dave, welcome. Why don't you unmute if you have a chance and kind of introduce yourself and let us know what you're looking for from the group?
Thank you so much for that. Interested in the specialized program, the self-directed IRAs, that I can build on that and just enjoy the um, ability to find and locate and uh, assets that could benefit um, myself and the team if possible.
That'd be great.
So, yes, sir. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's you're going to be a nice addition. And you know, Dave and I were talking a little bit about how I started brokering notes back in the day, and it was totally by accident. There was no intention of actually hey, this is going to be my thing. I'm going to go out and make a lot of money brokering notes. I was just trying to get my friends some assets, and I did the resources that I knew about LinkedIn. I knew about um the power of LinkedIn and being able to reach out to, and I was using other groups too. Like there was a Creative Real Estate Online, it was called, and that's how I actually ended up meeting quite a few other note investors that were not part of our group. But when I had found this note business, I just wanted to um, just change one thing here. I wanted to meet as many other people that I could that understood how important this business was, and so I was reaching out here and there, and I ended up going on to. Let me just change this view here. I never understand Zoom. Let's see. I forget it. So, so I found a guy out in Southern California who had a fund, and and they were investing in non-performing junior liens, and they weren't even really telling their investors what they were investing in because it was just too complicated. It was too far-fetched, and they were just taking people's money and then giving them back a return. But this one guy I found on LinkedIn said they invest in non-performing second mortgages, and you want to give this guy a call. And that was it. We bought our first pool, and Tony, who's on this call, he was involved in that first trade. And Jimmy, my son, was involved in this trade too because I would take him skiing at the ski lodge every weekend, and I'd be sitting up in a lodge with my headphones on and my ski boots on and a laptop in front of me and talking to John Sweeney from Partners for Payment Relief, and we were hacking through this tape, and we ended up doing kind of a round robin with how we were going to cherry pick these loans. And I ended up with 10 loans, and Sweeney ended up with 15, and Tony got 5, and I put it out to the group. We had 5 people. I said the first one, everybody was like, how can we pay you? How can we pay you? I'm like, listen, whoever gets the first payoff can take me out to dinner. And so as we were holding our own conference calls now, talking about the loans that we had purchased, helping everybody out with assignments that were missing, and different documents and pay histories and stuff that was missing. I'd have to go back to the original seller, and I really stayed in the game to make sure that all 54 of those notes were serviced correctly, were being handled correctly. and that we had all the documentation that we had paid for. We bought those loans at 20 cents on the dollar, and uh, my daughter Julie ends up living in one of those notes that I bought for, I don't know, I think I paid $2,500 for a note that sits on 4 acres of land on an abandoned house. And we ended up foreclosing on that. They ended up rehabbing the property and moving into it and buying it from us. I had an investor uh, on that property as well. And those were 10 really good, excellent notes. And I continued to broker notes to my friends for the next 4 years just from that one source. And that put a lot of money in our pockets and a lot of notes. And the idea of being able to broker notes is, first of all, I'm the first one to see the notes. So that means that, hey, if I got a few bucks kicking around, I can take some of these notes down, pick out the best ones for myself. And then the notes that I brokered out to my friends, I knew that I was going to be making about $2,000 off of each note. And I saw a note there that might cost 10 grand. I know that I'm brokering out 20 notes. Well, I can take down two $10,000 notes with my brokering fees. And it's a real quick way to build up your portfolio with no cash. And that's what I teach. And that's what I want to see for everybody who's on these calls to take advantage of the information that we accumulated. So, Dave, like I said, welcome to the group. Looking forward to your success. And I understand that you travel around the country.
We do. We spend half the year in Jackson, Wyoming, and then now we've spent half the year down in Florida. And are enjoying this wonderful lifestyle.
So where are you now? Are you north or south?
We're south. Too cold up in Jackson. Florida is very temperate this time of year, of course. And we are just about 60 miles north of Tampa, Florida.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So yeah, so I look forward to walking you through that process, Dave. And of course, if you discover some notes, we've got a few folks on this call that are out looking for notes in a serious way.
Awesome.
They are everybody's welcome to be as protective as possible about your source, about some of the notes, or as open as possible. It really depends on your discretion to be able to share the notes out to this group and out to my network. And like I said, I've been doing that for 17 years now. So I've built up quite a little Rolodex of note buyers over the time. And look forward to helping you with your process.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right. So what I wanted to do, I know Scott, Scott, I know you are in the process. You had sent me an email yesterday. Why don't you kind of fill us in a little bit about what you got going on? If you're able to talk, I know you could be at work.
Yep, no, I'm good. Yeah, I'm working on that tape, the $62 million UPB. I'm going to be talking to my contact and his manager over him to get what information I can put out. I'm going to be formulating a JV investor capital campaign. I'm going to lowball it around 25.5 mil and see what we come up with. But tomorrow, hopefully, I'll have more information of what the bottom line, what the seller is wanting. Turns out I did find more information is that it's a group of 3 investors had, I guess, I don't know if they accumulated over time, but either way, there's 3 investors that currently own this. 2 of them are ready to get out and want to retire. The 3rd one is left with the option of buying them out or selling the package. So he put it up for sale. He collected some bids. We did throw one in there for on the low end of non-performing notes, and he still just was kind of still getting around to it. We didn't hear anything. I asked a couple of times, and I got information back that he said he was looking for a hospital line. Wasn't quite sure what that was. So I'm like, I'm thinking it's end of the line. They're looking for resuscitation kind of and then that's when I've now found out more details of the 3 owners, and one is trying to sell and get out. So I will be kicking that off, formulating an email and sending that out.
So did you need me on that call tomorrow? I think you said you had a call at 9 o'clock or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's if you had said you want to be on there.
So I'm still not really understanding exactly what they're throwing at you. Are you 100% clear?
Well, to me, the way I'm taking it, again, so the last they said, so we collected what bids. I don't know if he got any bids other than what we put in, or if he's got a ton of them to go through. But basically, he had said to them that by the 2nd week of January, he'll have figured out what exactly he's going to do with this. So he could end up coming back next week and saying he's going to accept our offer, and he went and accepted other people's offers. I'm not sure, but with the information I got and him trying to sell it, I thought, well, if I can run a JV or and / investor and raise enough capital to give him the right offer, I'm thinking he might take it. So again, with the information I get from them tomorrow, if they give me a bottom line and I can possibly get that number to show up, I'm going to go for it. I'll give it a shot. I will put them. I've already explained to them what I want to do with it. So I said I wasn't sure. So what I wanted to find out is how much information can I put out there as to what this pool contains.
Okay, so and I just want to make sure that you and I are understanding. So whenever I'm talking to a seller, I don't want to let them know that I'm going to be brokering these things out. Of course, they kind of understand that, hey, it's kind of hard to come up with X million dollars to do a trade or something. But am I hearing you right that you're going to let him know that what kind of information you can release and what kind of information you're not going to release? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yes. Yeah, I want to get their approval to say, like what I'd like to do, because it is such a vast pool. I mean, to just say it's $62 million worth of UPB that is a nationwide pool, so it's all over the country, and it varies. It's all the way from first mortgages that are good and have been, they've got 50% equity in their house. They're not giving up their house. They're going to keep paying. So that's basically just immediate income that's just going to start flowing in, all the way down to, you've got primary mortgages are performing, primary mortgages non-performing. You got secondaries performing, secondaries non-performing. There's even some unsecured. That one slipped by me with the little worksheet that we came up with when you had that on there. I'm like, oh, there's some unsecured. I was unaware of that. So
and they were total garbage.
Right. And so those, I didn't even put that in on my bid. So if those come in, those are extra. If I get $100 for each of them, it's whatever. It is what it is. So those are going to be bonuses. I didn't really, I definitely lowballed. Well, you saw what I did on the worksheet. I lowballed all non-performings. I went with 10 cents a piece. All performing, I went with 40 cents a piece, which I still think is low. We easily could have a good turnaround on that. I mean, honestly, with the money coming in from the performing, should be able to turn around and start paying. I'm anticipating I won't start returning capital for 6 months. And then after that, I'll start returning capital. And after a year, if we settle out, it could include notes, or it would be just outright cash paying off the people, paying back what was invested. And again, that's why it's going to be a joint venture / investor capital raising, because the investors are just going to get a return on their money. Joint ventures, I definitely will need to do joint ventures with, like, Georgia Notes. I don't have a license for Georgia, so
Yep.
I'm immediately going to have to do joint venture. Anywhere that has required a license, I would do a joint venture on. And at this point, I'm just, as far as information, I'm more asking them how detailed I can get, as far as, again, because of the variety of things on there, there's some people that are only interested in performing notes. Some people are only non-performing, and again, primary or secondary. So it's got, I think, a lot of eye appeal for different levels of investors, where some people just say, hey, I'm looking to get 8%, and I don't care what happens with the money, just return it to me as soon as you can. So if they're going to give me a longer period to pay it back, then I can, raise the returns. And again, with not having done this yet, and just watching other people with capital campaigns, as far as the wording, and I'm not sure how it's all going to look, but definitely working that through. And as far as telling them what I'm doing, literally, I've said exactly what I'd said here, as far as doing a JV / investor capital. I never said anything about turning the notes over, or changing hands with them, or brokering them out or anything. Strictly that, that was my initial conversation with the gentleman. He's constantly still sending me pools, and he's like, oh, you like this one? How about looking at this one? So that's when I called him on the phone. I'm like, listen, I currently am a man of limited means. I'm hoping to get it residual, and I won't have this problem in the future. But as of right now, I'm still working on getting this started. So I called him back and said, I need to know what's happening with the bid we put in for almost $600,000 before I start bidding on other stuff, because now if I have two people saying they're going to accept my offer, I can't do that. I need to know for sure. So then when I called him back after he told me that this was he's looking for a hospital line, I said, I had him explain to me what was going on. I said, okay, that's kind of what I was under the impression that meant. So let me, I would like to do a capital campaign and raise money for investors and joint ventures. And he's like, okay, well, in order to do that, I need to my supervisor on the line, and we'll discuss it between the three of us and go from there. So, like I said, so I'm hoping for more details of a dollar amount. Number one is what I want, and then how much I can break down, what we have of each. And maybe it would be better off for the campaign to just say it's across the country, varying from performing to non-performing primary and secondary notes, and just leave it at that. And then as it comes in and people are responding, I will take it on an individual case by case basis and find out, okay,
So tomorrow's call is strictly information gathering. I think we lost you.
yeah,
You there, Scott?
yeah, am I back?
I hear you.
I hear you and can see you.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you.
All right. So yeah, once the contacts start coming in, then I'll determine, well, if we know we need 580,000 to cover the secondary non-performing. So if people are not showing, if I have enough interest in that, and now I need more people to cover the primary mortgages, I can inform them, well, I have enough people here that are responding. Are you interested in this level? And go from there. So it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
So are you putting this out to your people? Or are you expecting me to put these out to my people? Where are we at? Because literally, we have not really talked about this. I was really sick over Christmas and really have not had a chance to even think about these.
Right.
So, well, I would need to know, like, what are you expecting from me?
At this point, like I said, it's just the fact that, well, of course, the network. I definitely need to be tapping into that. And just as far as opinion on things as we go along. And if you had anything specific that you would ask.
So just so that we're clear, so that you're clear with the last time I looked at this Google Doc was when we had carved it up and cut it into one small piece to say, you know what, let's take the worst of the worst, not the unsecured, right above the step of and
where they were feeling
memory. So it was non-performing,
under 25K,
low balance, right? Low balance, under 25,000, unpaid principal balance. What else?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it, where you said that they're most likely that was where they were feeling their pain, because they're paying money for these to be serviced when it's costing that they're not getting any money out of it. And it's a low balance, so it's going to cost more money to deal with these things, and they're just not going to want them. They're going to want to dump them and get rid of them.
Right.
So that's, I think that may have, like, again, if he had gotten the right number, and he may have, he may be sitting there with these list of bids, and he says, okay, well, if I can keep, 10 of these that are primary mortgages that are performing, and I get enough money from the bottom of the pool that I can pay off my two partners, I'm good with that. And that might, obviously something like that didn't jump out. Otherwise, he would have already made his decision to be done.
Yeah. No, and I'm really surprised that he didn't flat out just say, you're out of your mind.
That's, again, that was where, like, we're like, okay, well, if they're keeping us on the line, and especially that's where, when I had the conversation with my contact saying that, well, I need to know what's going on with the bid I already put in. It's an indicative bid, but if they say yes to it, that's it. I can't bid on other pools. But if he's saying no and it's over, now game on, I can start looking at other pools. So that's going to be imperative to him. He's going to want to say, okay, let's get this, I'm sorry for the expression, shit or get off the pot. It's like, let's make a decision.
So let me just bring everybody up to speed now. So Scott brought in this huge tape. What was it? Is 1,000 notes or something?
It's over 2,000 notes.
And I knew that if my just from being around these things, everybody's looking at the cream of the crop. Everybody's looking at the top. They're looking at the performers. They're looking at the recently non-performing. Most people are looking at the first mortgages. Most people are, and so that, like you said, there's so many different levels of quality in this tape. There was performing first mortgages. There was performing second mortgages. There was newly non-performing first mortgages and newly non-performing second mortgages. And then I said, let's do the reverse and really mess with these guys' heads. Let's look at the worst of the worst. So the worst of the worst was non-performing second mortgages, $25,000 or less unpaid principal balance. Let's look at the worst of the worst and shoot them an offer on that. And that's exactly where we came in at, right?
Yep.
They were non-performing junior liens with a low balance that most people hate, myself included. I mean, we're foreclosing on 5 or 6 loans right now. And I mean, not that it's low balance, but my attorney fees, I think, Julie, where are we at with Barham? I think we're on that Carter deal balance, invoice wise,
I don't know.
I think it's around 12,000. I think I keep hearing your mother
I mean,
walking around
yeah.
the house mumbling 12,000.
Yeah.
I should say grumbling, not
grumbling.
mumbling.
Yeah. I mean, it goes quick with this, especially when they decide to take stuff on their own instead of waiting for us to say, let's do this or let's do that. So that is something else to be watching out for.
Yeah, so the attorneys are taking it upon themselves to create documents and send out stuff that's pretty much irrelevant. But yeah, so that's where we are with why we submitted. Thanks, Jewel. That's why we submitted the bid that we did, was to show them that, hey, we're willing to take on the worst of the worst to get their attention. And it seems to have worked, because that was over a month ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was. He was back. Actually, I want to say the whole thing. I think I started back in November.
I think so too.
Yeah. So it's more than a month. We're
And
in
so,
January now.
so that's very
January.
interesting. I like.
Yeah.
That. I'm glad we took that approach, because
Yeah. Well, that's I was. We were hoping at least for a counter offer. Flat out, no, you're nuts. There's no way. You're going to pay more than that, or a counter offer. So we can come back with something.
Cents?
Huh?
Were we?
We did 9. We actually started out at 9.
9.
And then so I had
go up to 10.
Right. Yeah. Well, that I actually worked out all the numbers. So I figured if they came back with a counter, I'm thinking their counter is going to be 50 cents on the dollar, right? So I had all the numbers worked out up to 40 cents on the dollar, figuring we didn't want to pay more than 40 cents for these ones, especially. But if it meant getting a taste, being able to get them on the line and get more from the rest of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
But I had all the figures out there and figure I was going to, I can't remember now. Yeah, now I'm thinking about it, trying to remember. I think the highest I wanted to go was 20 as far as counter. So I was going to come back with, if I already had given them 9 cents, I was going to come back with 12, and figuring they're going to come back and say, no, we want more. And whatever they were going to come back with, then I would come back with the 20, figuring they'd probably eventually maybe come back with 25 or 30, So I thought I wanted to know where the numbers were, and I ran them all the way through up to 40, just so I had an idea of, okay, when they're shooting them back, what are they giving me back? Are they coming back at 60 cents on the dollar or 50 cents? Where are they at?
Yep.
So I would be able to shoot another number back quicker and be ready to fire back at him. But we never heard anything more, and I kept bugging my contact to find out. Okay, and that's the thing, right? Even as this is happening now, I think I initially contacted him 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he basically said he'd get back. Didn't specifically say he'd get back to me. He said, I'm going to check with the seller and see what they have to say.
Okay.
Well, he didn't say he never came back to me. So I eventually called him and I'm like, okay. Well, that was when he sent me that email about the hospital line. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? So it still kept, if I had gotten on it right away, and I would have the capital campaign already running and have an answer for this guy.
Yeah.
If now I'm still going to do it. I'm going to give it my best shot, and I'm going to at least have the experience of running a capital campaign and see how it goes. See what kind of responses I get. If there's people that are like, "Who's this guy?" I'm going to send him an email. But it's still going to give me the momentum and the role to get things figured out for the future. And I don't know where this is going to go, but if he's got it already figured out and made a decision, and now I come up with a capital campaign, he's going to sit back and think about it again. It's like, I don't know,
Okay, so this is where I think, and anybody else wants to join in, please do. So typically when you're looking to be working on such a large pool, first of all, a couple thousand notes, that's a lot of management. Would be to internally carve these things up and put these into maybe 6 to 10 buckets. Bucket number 1 being the notes that we actually put an offer in or that should be bucket number 10, which is at the end of the line. And when we approach someone to sell these loans to, whether it's internal in this group or external out to some other people, the way the presentation would be to say, listen, I've got, how many notes were in that little group that we had? Roughly a couple hundred.
Yes, I believe there was
Okay, so the
275, I want to say.
Yeah, so the information would be, hey, listen, I got 275 non-performing seconds with a UPB under 25,000, various states, no big concentration in any one state. And then you can list, hey, there's no New York, no New Jersey, or 2 New York, 2 New Jersey, primarily notes that are in Indiana, whatever. And just do a broad paint stroke like that to say, this is bucket number 10. Bucket number 9 is the same type of asset with a UPB up to 75,000. Bucket number 8. And so you're not sharing any privileged information with a potential buyer until they say, you know what, I'm interested in bucket number 7. That looks like it's in my wheelhouse. From 75, bucket number 7 would be from 75,000 to 150,000 non-performing second liens. That's right in our sweet spot. That's where we like to work. I'm interested in bucket number 7. And so there's no release of any privileged information to anybody other than to you and me, basically, are the only ones that have seen that.
Right.
Addresses and names.
Right. Oh yeah. No, I definitely wasn't going that far.
Well, no, I wouldn't even
right.
have the discussion
right
with them tomorrow about releasing privileged information at all. It's like, listen, what we're intending on doing, or what it looks like we're going to do, is we're going to carve this thing up into 10 or 12 or 15 buckets, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And find who we think would be, I wouldn't even say anything, but I would just let him know this is how we're looking at this thing, and should we even bother to proceed?
Okay, I like that. Yeah. Okay.
To say, we can't just say, hey, this this pool is worth, aggregately 40 cents on the dollar across the board. We would have to carve these things up internally. And now I know that you're familiar, and I just want to get this out to the group as well. When we're making our offers, we're giving them a pool purchase, or actually a bucket purchase offer. The non-performing seconds from $75,000 to $125,000. If everything works out to be that is truly the information you've given us is correct, we're willing to give you 35 cents on the dollar for them. Well, no, I think we need loan level pricing. Well, we're not going to give you loan level pricing until we have a signed contract that price is going to be in place. And then once we are under contract to purchase these things, then we can give them an itemized loan number 13, we're going to give you X amount of dollars for it. But it would be a pool level price, just like we offered $600,000 for those 275 loans. Not saying that loan 23 is going to be a really sweet one, and loan number 24, we're going to offer you a penny for that one. But the aggregate price for the entire pool comes out to 9 cents. And you never want to reveal, Scott, I know you understood this. You never want to reveal the sweet ones from the crappy ones until it comes time to cut the check or send a wire, because they could take, hey, look at this really sweet one here. They could shop that out to their people to say, listen, I got an offer at 23 cents on this one. Can you hit 25 or can you hit 30? That's happened to me so many times now that it's just a non-issue. It's just like automatic. I'm not giving loan level prices, blah, blah, blah. And so tomorrow's call would really be more of just aggregate information of, can you give me some color on the pricing? Just a rough and dirty,
Right.
like, and if you can get if they want 50 cents on a dollar for the entire pool, that would be a great place for us to start.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If we could get 55 cents on a dollar, now we could say, okay, so what are they looking at? Which ones are they looking at to warrant a value? Even if the offer that they're expecting is 75 cents on a dollar, we can eliminate the ones that they think are the most expensive. And then we can go in and say, listen, you can keep these really sweet ones, and you could probably get 80 cents on the dollar just for these sweet ones, and we'll take the crap. And so I would shoot for some kind of color on pricing for the whole tape.
Yeah, that definitely is my primary number one goal for tomorrow. Absolutely.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Good. So you don't need me on the call. That's cool.
It would be a matter of, so he's supposed to be calling me, so he has his boss on the line. So I just don't know if I can call you if you want to get in on the call. Or...
No, you do it. This is your baby.
Right. I know that's how you have been in the past. That's why it's like,
I want to see you bring this thing home, man.
I appreciate that, and I want to bring it home. Trust me.
I do too.
So I also do want to, while we're on the subject of if anybody on the call we're not connected on LinkedIn. If you are doing LinkedIn, please. I had a couple of invites pop up while we were talking now. I don't know if that is somebody on the line or not, but if anybody here is hearing my voice, and whether that be on the recording or that's here tonight, go ahead and contact me on LinkedIn. I will add you as a contact, and you will be part of the capital campaign that I'm working on putting together here. I, of course, will prioritize anybody in our immediate network that is on these calls and in this group, is my plan. I don't know how Mike feels about that. I'm sure he wouldn't object to that, but to me, everybody here gets priority as far as getting in. So whatever
I
you are
applaud it.
interested.
I applaud it.
Yeah. So, or if you want to shoot me an email in the messages here, that would be fine too. But it'd probably be easiest if you're on LinkedIn, connect to me on LinkedIn. If not, send a message here. I'd say put it that way.
So, so just to put this out to everybody. So Scott has gone through my material extensively. All the training videos that I put together. And I got to hand it to you, Scott. I mean, you got a good handle on that stuff. So
Yeah.
You guys connect with each other because
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
We've got some smart people in here. Very cool.
Yeah, and actually going through all those videos and watching that has definitely helped. And I know I've been kind of a sleeper here because with still working a W-2, I'm not able to focus on it as much as I want, but it's definitely rolling right now. I hope to get something more out of this, even if I don't get the full capital campaign. Like I said, it's the experience of putting it all together, the absolute pleasure and experience of working with you on this as well. As I mentioned before, your authenticity definitely shows through. Genuine article. You're here to help, and you're not. You're definitely taking as much of a back seat as you can, and you're there to help me and work with me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, just get this thing across the line here.
Because I could definitely see, like you've mentioned in the past, somebody jumping in. I've offered to, hey, if you want to take care of this while I'm on vacation, I could see somebody else jumping in and say, yeah, I got it. We'll get back to you later and take over with it. Which, honestly, at this stage, I'm like, okay, but I'm more than happy. Also, very appreciative that you said, no, you're going to do it and take care of it. And even with going on vacation, I made sure and worked with my wife about, well, if we need to get the internet package while we're on the cruise, so be it. This is what it's going to be. This is how we're going to work through this in the future. So let's go for it. So We're all on board with it. We were working with it, and it went fine. Again, wishing we had more answers and gotten more information back, but
that's the way it is.
How it goes.
Yep. This is not like going out and buying a house and getting a homeowner's inspection and getting a home inspection and knowing exactly what your numbers are. People, they just throw a tape out and they go, I wonder what's going to stick.
Yeah.
I've seen hedge funds do this. That first guy that I was buying from, they were a fund just working the crap out of these non-performing seconds. When I told him, hey, if you're buying them for 10, I'll buy them for you off for 20, because our mentor was buying them for a nickel and selling them to us at 50 cents. And he was just creaming us and just creaming us, and I've had several conversations with the guys that were on those calls, and they find out my education program is 10 grand or something. They're like, I probably paid 20 grand just for one note to learn that business. And Kevin Cordell, he's famous for that. He's like, we probably spent over $100,000 to get educated in note business, and it was worth it. It's a crazy business. But let me know, Scott, tomorrow. Send me a text or email or give me a shout.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And then
for sure,
we can, if we have to hold a couple of emergency sessions with everybody.
Now if this goes through, it's going to be all hands on deck for sure. Yeah. Without a doubt. It's going to be interesting. I'd say buckle up. we'll find out.
Yeah, buckle up.
It's yeah. Um,
And
looking
so
forward to it.
the lesson, I guess, would be on future deals is to kind of go into this with a reverse psychology. Like, where is their hardest pain? We're not going, everybody goes for the best thing for themselves instead of looking at these going, where are they going? What are we going to do with these loans? And it's the same way with the bank. When we were buying off of Wells Fargo, the guy at Wells Fargo is like, listen, I can't foreclose on some little old lady for 50 grand for because she's not paying her second mortgage. It's just not, doesn't look good. Wells Fargo doesn't look good to begin with. You know, they've been
Right.
caught with so many different things going on. It just would not look good for us to foreclose on a $50,000 mortgage. And so they were selling them to us, which was fantastic. PNC, the same thing. PNC were doing workouts with borrowers where they owed 100,000. They'd do a workout for 5,000. And then the people couldn't come up with 5,000. So they would sell me the note. And then I call up the borrower and I'm like, what are you going to do about this $100,000 debt? And they're like, well, PNC's offered to settle with me for 5,000. I'm like, well, why didn't you take that? That's a
You should have
fantastic
taken them
deal.
up on it. Yeah, right.
And they're stuck. These people are stuck on the 5,000. I'm like, that's gone. That's water under the bridge. That came and went. And I'm not PNC. What are we going to do about this loan? And people were pissed. I mean, that was a tough lesson. That PNC actually had this conversation with the borrower
Yeah.
right before they
Yeah.
sold us all these notes. And it was every note that we called was the same thing. I'm like, why didn't you take it? I can't offer you the same thing. I'm not PNC. You know, so well, good stuff, Scott. Good luck tomorrow. And like I said, keep me posted. And if we have to hold emergency sessions to get this thing done, we'll do that.
Yep. Yeah. No, I will be calling out of work. I I should prepare my wife for that, but I think she's already understanding. If when I get to the point that I have this pile of notes, it's going to be yeah, it's going to be a lesson, and we're going to be doing a lot of work on it. So that's why I have sick time.
You got what?
And that's why I have sick time. I got paid time off from work.
Oh, nice.
So and obviously the goal is that long term. My goal is to be making what I'm making here. Well, actually, plus 100,000 a year. I'm going to have what I'm making here is residual income from my notes portfolio, such that when I retire, there's no change of income at all. I plan on retiring in 4 years. It's actually almost to the date. Actually, yep, January 13th of 29. I will be leaving the corporate world. That's why I guess I have to straighten that out. I'll be 55 and a half and leaving the corporate world to take my life back.
Nice.
And I will be doing notes full time at that point. But I hope to have a portfolio established such that I have residual income coming in and not see a change in income at all.
Cool.
That's the goal. So
very good. All right. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Yep, sure thing.
Good.
Thank you.
Stuff.
Hey, Scott, I got a
Yes.
question for you.
Sure,
This is
go ahead.
Tom. Yeah, I think earlier in your conversation you mentioned you had a cost of capital of 8%.
For as
Did you
far as
say
what as a
But
bid?
I guess, I thought you mentioned you had like a source for 8% money, and I was just wondering, is that a fund you formed, or is
Oh,
that
no. So far, no, I don't have any of that going yet. that's the plan, to work through something and build something up so that I do have it. But as of right now, nope.
Okay. I was just wondering if you had a source that you wanted to tell us how you found 8% money.
Yeah, no, I wish. Yeah, that would be great. That'd be
Okay.
fantastic. And if I had the pool that large, and then all I have to do is come up with the rest, that would be fantastic.
What
That
are you
would be
paying
good.
now, Tom?
Me, well, um my deals term, I'm using them more for construction projects where I'm in and out, not so much for buying notes. But I just secured two long-term loans at 10%
Mm,
interest only,
mm.
which for the purpose that I put it in, it works fine. It's not as good as 8%, but the 10% is was pretty good.
What period of time?
It's just really honestly indefinitely. I basically told the investors, I said, let's call it a minimum of 3 years. And I said, if you call me in 3 years and you say, the 10% was fun while it lasted, but I want to get paid back, then I'll probably find another investor to take your place in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can at 10%. There's a lot of people out there that are happy with 10% and interest only monthly payments.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Now I see where you're now I'm processing everything. The 8% that I put out there was just like what you know, what I was planning, the low ball I was planning on offering as a return, but I figure I can offer anywhere from 8 to 16%, depending on the time of payback, So if somebody's willing to wait, if they say, I want to wait a year to start getting paid back, okay, great. If they say, and then even if they want to wait a year to start getting paid back and they're willing to take it in monthly payments, is one level. If they want to wait a year, but they want a lump sum, then that's going to be a different level. You know what I'm saying? So because I'm trying to reach a lot of people and trying to raise the amount that I am, I've got to give opportunities for different levels of investment. And again, I'm in a group of like the family banks. So if I think we've talked about it on this group before, that they were tickled with 3%. Now they're probably looking closer to like 6%. So people like that, where I can guarantee them a return. Hey, I'll give you cash flow that's going to start in a year at a 9% rate, and they're going to be thrilled to death about it. Some of them say, no, I got to start a return on investment right away. Well, they're out. I mean, again, even those I could work with it if I have to, but I'm looking to not start returning capital for 6 months. I need a 6-month window basically to breathe and get everything straightened out to see where everything is at. Of course, I think number one thing that we're going to have to deal with this pool is going to be, okay, obviously we're not, if it's in the hands of, gosh, I'm going to brain fart right now. The processors, not processors.
The what? Servicers?
The servicers, yes, mortgage servicers. So obviously these are being serviced by somebody right now. They're for the most part going to stay with them. I think our primary goal would be to take the ones that are non-performing, especially the under 25,000 non-performing. We're not going to continue paying servicer fees on that. We're going to, again, it's going to be a whole different strategy in trying to figure things out. I'm on the mindset. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm just basically put the servicers on notice. I'll give you 6 months to get this note reperforming. Otherwise, I'm pulling it from your service. I'll be servicing it myself and taking care of it in another manner, we don't even know what they have done. Maybe they already did start something. Now this is all the information we have is, I believe it was November 10th, I think was the most recent information that was on this. So we don't know, and that's what I had talked with my contact. At this point, we don't know. There could more than half of these things could have gone delinquent since we've actually have current information. So we don't know where it's at. And that's what I was saying. As far as our indicative bid, you know, for the whole pool, that's going to be a whole different ballgame. You know, we're definitely going to need more information before we can lock it in. You know,
Well, that's kind of how we arrived at this painful place of where these people are and why we went in to go to the lowest rungs of the ladder here, was because, you know, most people don't service their own loans. And you know, I was connected to a guy who wanted to buy some loans, and he was adamant about using a servicer. I'm like, okay. So he came in with some money, we bought some loans, we dumped all these loans into the servicing, and it was horrible. It was painful because I'm trying to get information from the servicer, normal information that I would have at my fingertips, because, you know, I had these loans. I would have had these loans boarded on my own system, and I could just pull up a folder and say, okay, so this document was sent by the attorney in such and such a date. And this is where Julie and my wife come into play, where the attorney management is the biggest part of this business once you acquire some assets. Like what Scott is doing right now is serious work. But once these things get acquired, then it's just a matter of bringing the loan in-house, taking an inventory of the collateral file, putting that collateral file into some type of a system that we use Evernote right now. And then start to work these loans, decide which ones to work and which ones to leave on the back burner. And but when they're at a servicer and you've got 20 loans at a servicing company, you can't say, you know what, just sit on those for a while, and I don't want to pay you to work those. They're like, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to pay us for all these loans. And so why am I paying servicing fees, or why are these three guys paying servicing fees on these low balance, crappy seconds that are probably, if you don't work them like to death, or work them, I shouldn't say to death, work them with some compassion for these borrowers to let them get back on their feet, you're just throwing money away at the servicer. So let's pull these loans out of their servicing so that they can stop the bleeding. Because if there's 275 loans and they're paying $90 a month for non-performing notes, trying to get them reperforming, that's some serious cash they're paying a servicer. And let's give them a little bit of relief by taking those off their hands first. And this leads to talking about the cost of money, talking about being able to do the due diligence to know, hey, these notes, we may recover 40 cents on a dollar if we're buying these things at 9 cents on a dollar. For a 200-300% return, that would be nice. But I knew I had a student, and I'm not going to mention any names, but one morning I woke up and I was looking at the accounts or something, and I had a new $10,000 deposit. Someone had signed up with my one-on-one coaching. And I'm like, isn't that nice? So I scheduled a call with the guy and got on the phone, and he said, you know, I probably should have had this call with you 3 years ago. I'm like, what's up? He says, well, I have $7 million worth of non-performing second mortgages. I'm like, dude, I should be on your call. He's like, not so fast. So he goes on to explain that he borrowed all this money from all these people that wanted to invest in a non-performing note business. And he bought, I don't know if it was 7 million UPB or 7 million that he spent. I think it was 7 million that he spent. So he had a ton of notes. And I'm like, so what's your struggle? He says, well, first of all, when I set the fund up, I didn't account for the fact that I was buying all non-performing notes, and I'm not going to have any money coming in, like to your point, Scott, for a year, because we got to work these things to turn these things into cash. And I said, so you're struggling with paying your investors back. I'm like, what are you paying them back with? He's like, well, what do you think I'm paying them back with? I'm paying them back with cash. I'm like, but you don't have any cash. So what do you have a lot of right now? Because I have a lot of notes. I have a lot of notes. I said, so the best thing that you could do is to start an education program and train your investors how to take non-performing notes in lieu of the cash that they gave you. So if you've got a $100,000 non-performing mortgage, train them how to work that non-performing second mortgage and give them that note that you paid $5,000 for, give it to them for $20,000 or $25,000 worth of the money that they gave you. If they gave you $100,000, you give them one note, and now you're down by 25% of what you owe them. And give them UPB and don't give them cash. And he's like, that was worth the 10 grand that I just spent. And so he did that, and he started teaching the non-performing note business. He hired someone, and all right, Tom, take it easy. He hired someone that was very proficient in the note business, and they started teaching the non-performing note business to his investors, and he started paying these people back in unpaid principal balance and giving them the opportunity. If they gave him $100,000, gave his investors the opportunity to double their money by giving them non-performing notes, because he had a ton of those. And so now on the flip side, that fund, they gave notes back to their investors for about a year or two. And then it all fell apart and they stopped doing that. And now the fund is in bankruptcy. And they were paying too much for the notes. They weren't doing the due diligence that they were supposed to be doing on the notes that they were buying. They were basically buying blind and paying whatever the seller demanded. And they blew up. And so let's be careful out there when you're raising capital, and make sure that we're performing the due diligence that we need to do to make sure that we're getting some quality notes that will actually support the fund to cover the costs. And so that's just key. And I just wanted to get that out there, that things do happen. And to your point, Scott, going out and raising capital sounds great and everything, but there are things that you need to look out for, is all I'm going to say. So does anybody else have anything they want to add for the year 2025? It's crazy. It just doesn't even roll off my lips correctly. It just sounds ridiculous. But go ahead and unmute before we jump off here. And I'd love to hear from you. So real quick, while you guys are thinking up something, this is Distress Pro, and this is Wells Fargo Bank. I pulled them up because I've been poking around looking at some of their commercial stuff. So here's their non-performing first lien positions. There's only 2% that are non-performing. which is very good for the bank. Here's our second liens, and they're almost at 7%, which is not too good. I mean, when we were at the height of the storms back in 2009, this number was about 9%. And this sucker's up to almost 7%. So that's a good sign for us, not a good sign for them. Here's for the HELOCs. Again, they've got 6.5% non-performing in their HELOC department. And their commercial is not looking too good either. They're at 6% there. And Q4. So you can, I wanted to show you this. So here's Q2 of 2023. Here's Q3. And then you can see a huge drop off in Q4 on their non-performing charge-offs. Those are loans that they just don't expect to make any more interest money on. So then you can see from Q3 to Q4 the huge increase in charge-offs from 2 million to 576 million. That is freaking huge. Now, they have not reported Q4 2024 yet, but if you can just kind of see this falling off a cliff here, here you've got Q1 181 million, where Q1 of last year, they were only at 27 million. A year later, they're at 181 million for Q1. Q2 is a higher amount, 459 million, than Q4 of 2023. Q3 of 2024 is 646 million. And I'm expecting Q4, when they actually start reporting in a couple of months, that number is going to jump up to maybe $1 billion in commercial non-performing charged off loans. We've never seen this in the last, I mean, commercial loans have been the most stable thing, the cheapest money that banks were lending out at just ridiculously cheap rates, which would help the end borrower because their margins were so low. And now we've got this crazy inflation. We have this crazy interest rates that are, in my opinion, going to be high for a while. There's just too much cash out in the world. And to see numbers like this in their non-performing commercial space is very, very scary, interesting. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Depends on which side of the desk you're sitting on. Consumer credit loans, you can see just fall off the cliff. But yeah, so I just wanted to give you a quick idea of where Wells Fargo is in their junior lien space. Same thing for PNC. PNC, let's just do it here real quick. So with with PNC, if you guys could break into this bank, so they're non-performing junior liens, they're at 4.5%. That's better than Wells Fargo, but that's still a big number. That's 32 million non-accrual. They're 30. Now, this is what's really encouraging. They're 30 to 89 days late. This is newly non-performing paper, is $2.4 million. That's newly non-performing paper that hasn't even gotten anywhere near to a charge-off position. Now, this very low $278,000 charge-off amount means that they just sold some notes to somebody. So there's some PNC non-performing seconds floating around out there on what I call the secondary market that some hedge fund has just purchased, because this number was probably a lot larger at some point. So like here in their HELOC department, they've got 26 million in charge-offs. So that could mean that they're just about ready to start dumping some of these HELOC charge-off loans out into the public as well. We take a look at their commercial. Some horrible numbers, some horrible stuff. So I think that this is going to be our next little place to play, because I've never been able to get. Now, when we're calling banks looking for seconds, we're not just looking for seconds. We're doing kind of what Scott's doing. Hey, we'll look at everything. We'll take a look at everything. And the guy goes, well, we got some commercial non-performing. And what are you looking to get for that? Par. Well, why would you want to get rid of something? What makes you think that I would want to take your position at the exact same position that you're in right now? And that's why I've never done a commercial deal. I'm not saying they couldn't be done, but I've never done one because I could never get the bank to agree to a discount that was large enough to make it worthwhile for one of my people to buy a non-performing commercial loan. And I'll just leave it at that. So now I think that tables have turned, and it's very promising to see that those non-performing juniors, especially with Wells Fargo, and here even at a rate, it's almost it's 4.5% of their entire portfolio is non-performing. But things are looking up. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? All right, folks. Well, listen, I'm going to wrap it up. If nobody else has any questions or anything, I appreciate everybody being on the call tonight. Dave, I look forward to working with you. And Scott, I look forward to pulling this thing across the line. Everybody else, everybody have a great night, and have a great 2025.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Good night, all.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, good night.